Hello, hello. My name is Emily Eldridge, and welcome to Inner Work for Greater Good, where I teach change makers inner work that accelerates their power to change the world. So if you are a change maker, someone who is absolutely driven to make a positive difference in the world, then you are most welcome here, because I have always a lot to share with you, a lot of wonderful information that will help accelerate your ability to really make that difference, but not just make a difference, but really feel amazing doing it. That's what it's really about, that we really make a difference, not just by what we do, but by who we are. And so by teaching you how to do this inner work for greater good, my desire, my wish for you is that you absolutely light up doing what you know you came here to do, and thus having the greatest impact that you can possibly have while doing it. If this is your first time, welcome. What I'm doing right now is I'm doing a series, and this series is all about the ChangeLight system. So I'm the founder of ChangeLight, which is an online community, and I have a course on there. And the ChangeLight system is all about working with you as a change maker to accelerate your power to change the world. So if you missed the previous episodes, I really highly recommend you can watch this one, but also go back and watch the previous ones, because it sets up a lot of what I talk about in this next episode and in the episodes going forward. But first of all, let me just introduce you to the ChangeLight system. So these are the components. I always love to share this. These are the components of the ChangeLight system, which are discoveries that I've made through my work as a change maker. And so you'll see I'm introducing some terms that you may not be so familiar with. What is this thing I called XPowers? And then we have your emPowers, your guiding star, and your truth. So in previous episodes, I talked about your XPowers and what those are. They are any part of you that feels like it gets in the way of you feeling fully at peace with yourself and fully empowered to make the biggest difference you know you can make in the world. So those XPowers are those things that can really be, we struggle with, that cause us to feel triggered or blocked or wounded. And they really are from our life experiences, that in which parts of us have taken on certain fears or beliefs, limiting beliefs and reactivity that really does, it maybe at some point in our life, it really did protect us from getting hurt again. But ultimately, we struggle with these XPowers because they're getting in the way. So I talk about the 3 types of XPowers in the previous episodes. In this series of episodes, we're on the 3rd, actually the 4th, of talking about your inner emPowers. So your inner emPowers are those parts of you whose job it is to empower you to live your truth. So you'll see on the far right of the screen, you'll see your truth. And your truth is the treasure that we are after here, because you have a truth that you are here to live. I have a truth that I'm here to live. And in order to make the biggest, most amazing, positive impact we can possibly have on this earth in this lifetime, it's by fully and wholly living our truth. So it's all about really knowing your truth and honoring your truth so that you can live it. And by living your truth, you can truly change the world. You light up. And when we light up the world. So in this series, I'm talking about your emPowers. And then of course we have your guiding star. I'll just go through the end. Your guiding star is basically that image that you carry of your optimal self, of who you are here to be, doing what you came here to do. So you may not even be totally aware of it. In fact, I only discovered my guiding star years after it was really having such an impact in my life that I realized, oh, wait a minute, that's my guiding star. That's the one that's been trying to show me who I'm capable of being. And so your inner guiding star is that just absolutely wonderful, optimal version of you that's here to inspire you and guide you to live your truth. And as I said, your truth is the treasure that we are after here. Your truth is, as I define it, your inner knowing of who you are and who you are here to be. So when we think about, honoring your truth or listening to your truth, or what does your truth tell you, a lot of times that's sort of an undefined concept, but that's how I define it. It's that knowing of who you are as well as who you are here to be. So it not only guides you to really trust and honor within yourself, but also to trust and honor it's like an inner compass to guide you to really lighting up and being your fullest, truest, highest expression and doing what you came here to do, being that presence that you know you can be. So those are the basic components of the ChangeLight system, which, as I said, I discovered and developed, and it came out of my own struggles as a change maker, as someone who has been driven since a very young age to make a positive difference in the world. So as I said, we are moving forward. Oh, let's go back. Well, that wasn't supposed to happen. Here we go. So these are your 3 types of inner emPowers, which I mentioned in the previous slide, okay? So we've got your sovereign, which I discussed in a previous episode, which is that part of you that knows your truth, and it knows what is right and wrong for you independently of anyone else. It is the fuel for your courage that inspires you to do what you know is right. It's like a moral compass. Your sovereign is, I call it your inner sovereign because it's like your inner king or queen. It is, and also the word sovereign, of course, sovereign means like monarch, but sovereign also means when we talk about like a sovereign nation, it's like an independent. So it's that part of you that knows who you are individually, independently of anyone else. And it's the main emPower whose job it is to guide you to know and to live your truth. Then we have your impresario. I talked about your impresario in the previous episode, and that's really more like your left brain, practical, logical, strategic, all of the parts that you need in your life in order to survive, in order to be organized. I call it your impresario because it is that part of you that's like an impresario for an orchestra, for a symphony, for a musical. It's that part that says, okay, we want to put on this show. What do we need? Who do we need? And gets those pieces in place and thinks in terms of money and strategy and, what it is that needs to happen in order for the show to go on. So that's kind of your impresario. In this next episode, we are going to talk about your inner free spirit. Your inner free spirit is a really fun one. I'm excited to share this one with you. It's the third, but last but not least of the emPowers, and I really emphasize it is not the least of your emPowers, because a lot of times we can often really kind of suppress our free spirit because of survival reasons and other things like that. In any case, so who is your free spirit? So your free spirit is the part of you that is playful, joyful, funny, in the now. So very much about being present right here, right now. Pleasure-seeking, imaginative, self-expressive, artistic, creative, emotional, loving, generous, sweet, innocent, and carefree. So I want you, as I describe this, you're playful, joyful, pleasure-seeking, imaginative, creative, artistic, free, loving, generous, just exuberant. I want you to imagine, be tuned into that part of you that is your inner free spirit. And I promise you it's there. And the reason why I have to say I promise you it's there is because I will have clients who come to me and say, I don't have that anymore. The free spirit is basically what you might call your inner child. Well, I take that back. Some people use the term inner child in a way to evoke that it's your wounded inner child. Now, in a previous episode, we did talk about woundeds, and woundeds do internally tend to show up as inner children. But in this case, we're talking about basically your healed inner child, the true inner child, the true essence of that child inside of you. And actually, you can have many children inside of you. I personally, in my work and with others, we've drawn out many inner children and taken them from being wounded to being healed back to their original free spirit essence. And so this is what we're talking about here. We're talking about that beautiful, precious, joyful, just carefree, pleasure-seeking, imaginative part of you that doesn't know limitation. It doesn't think about, anything that's wrong in the world. It doesn't think about, what you're bound, what your things that you can't do. It only thinks it thinks in terms of what you can do, the difference you can make, the love that it can express. And that's why I also say self-expressive, because it's the part of us that really is that compelled to express, whether it's creatively, whether it's in terms of affection and love for other people or love for ourselves, having a lot of fun and feeling really free and joyful. That's why I call it your inner free spirit, because somewhat in contrast to the sovereign and really more the impresario. The impresario is very much, like I said, it's all about sort of, strategy and practicalities and logistics and things like that, which are wonderful, but that's also, it's really focused on like what's measurable and what's calculable and, where the sort of parameters for things are. Your free spirit has absolutely no concept of that. It doesn't care. It just loves to expand. It loves to imagine, and it loves to create from the imagination. It's also what I love though too, is it's very much like it's so open-hearted. It loves everyone no matter what. And its love is just so unconditional. And the other part of it too is it's very innocent. So your true inner free spirit, it's not been touched by, pain or fear or anything that would cause it to doubt, love or doubt other people's love. It's just so pure and innocent and giving and generous. So it's that part of you that just wants to, give everything to everyone, or even give things away and not even think about and, how it might impact you. Or it's the part of you that just loves to just be so affectionate and so free and so, spontaneous and joyful. So this free spirit is extremely, extremely important. And we're going to talk a little bit more in a later episode about how these empowers relate to X-powers and also how they relate to each other. Because the whole point of all three of these empowers is that they are a balance. Now, you and I, we may have different sort of amounts of like free spirit or sovereign or impresario within us. We're all divinely designed. In my opinion, we are designed according to whatever our truth needs us to be. And so however you were designed is however all of the qualities, all of the tendencies, all of the gifts, all of the ways of thinking that you need in order to fully live your truth, they're in your empowers. The thing is, though, I want to say this about the free spirit, because the free spirit can often get shafted a lot, because the reality is we live in this world that's really tough, and that there's a lot of focus on survival. And especially, for example, if you live in, let's say, the United States, which is where I live, is that there's a lot of impresario energy, which is that very, practical and get things done and make money. And what can often happen is that free spirit can get sort of pushed aside, and ultimately it can actually become more of the wounded, like I talked about in a previous episode about woundeds. But your free spirit is actually, even though it may seem on the surface like it's not important or vital to survival, oh honey, it is. Your free spirit is so incredibly important. Here's how I know this. Because when I've worked with clients and they come to me, let's say that they're very, very burned out, and they could be extremely successful in business and otherwise, and everyone just sort of thinks they're amazing and they're so incredible, but they come to me and they're super burned out, or they've lost all sense of spark or joy or inspiration or fun or pleasure. Often that's because they are not honoring their inner free spirit. They're honoring maybe too much of the impresario that's saying you got to do this and this and this to survive, or maybe even the sovereign that says, well, this is your purpose and you've got to focus on your purpose. The free spirit is an extremely important part of this whole formula, of this whole balance inside of us. And so one of the things I talked about in previous episodes, I'll mention again here, is that your empowers are here they empower you to thrive, to have drive. Let me go back. They empower you to survive, to thrive, and have the drive to live your truth and change the world in whatever ways call to you. And so the survive is your impresario. And so, of course, it's really important to survive, because if you're not surviving, then you can't possibly thrive and you can't possibly fulfill your purpose on earth. But by the same token, then there's the thrive. And the thrive is your free spirit part of you. The thing is, thrive and joy and freedom and pleasure and all this, where it's like just the pleasure of life. The thing is, though, if all you're doing is thriving, meaning that you're just like, oh, I'm just having a great time, but you're not surviving very well, or you don't have a sense of purpose and drive, then you might be kind of, all over the place. Same thing, having the drive is that sovereign gives you that focus. But my point is that all three of these are all vitally important. It is absolutely vital that we honor all three of them. Not all three may show up completely in our lives all the time, but all three of them definitely need to be honored in order for us to truly feel whole and at peace and free and inspired and joyful, and truly make a difference as change makers, but with joy and with pleasure. Because in my experience, that is the only sustainable way to do it. If it feels good, if it feels right. And so that's what your free spirit is about. So what does your free spirit provide for you? Positivity. Your free spirit is that part of you that sees the upside in everything. It's not jaded. It's not cynical. It goes, well, hey, okay, so this thing happened, so we can figure out how to make this good, or we can work with this. So your free spirit is that part of you that is really like just sees the potential, that sees possibility. The same thing, there's the free spirit is also the part of you that loves games and toys and entertainment. Remember, it loves having fun. It loves being joyful. So it's that one that loves to be playful. It's also the part of you that's spontaneous and adventurous. Remember, I said that the free spirit is in the now. It's not thinking about the past. It's not thinking about the future, unless the future is like, oh, this is exciting what we're going to do. But it really is about, let's just do this right now. Let's go, oh yeah, that feels great. Let's jump into it. So that's what your free spirit does, and being adventurous and not fearing anything, just really going for it. Your free spirit is the source of your humor, giggles, laughs, jokes. As much as the sovereign and the impresario are wonderful, the impresario, can tend to be kind of serious and, practically minded, perfectly pleasant and calm and everything, but kind of serious. And then the sovereign is more sort of, that higher minded wisdom and compassion and these sort of higher values and energy about it. But your free spirit's the one who's like, well, I just like to be fun and have free. I don't want to think about what's important. I don't want to think about what I got to do. I don't care about responsibilities. I just want to be free and have fun. So let's go do this. And so your free spirit is the one who will guide you towards those activities that are really all about your own pleasure and joy and laughter. So as I said, whatever feels good in the moment, your free spirit is all about that. Your free spirit does not want to think about what needs to be done. The free spirit usually does not want to think about what's on your to-do list. However, that when the empowers are in balance, and I'll talk about that in a later episode, really they all support each other. So it's not like your free spirit's going to try to get in the way of getting things done, but it will be the one to say, hey, remember, let's go have some fun. So your free spirit is all about daydreaming, brainstorming, imagining, remember that creativity. It's all about full and creative self-expression. It's also really a source of your deep emotions and your ability to empathize. Your free spirit is very much about connection. All of them are about connection, all three empowers. But your free spirit is the one that's more on the sort of emotional side of things. That's that heart expansive and also feels things very deeply. Generosity. Remember I said free spirit doesn't think about limitations or parameters or any of that kind of stuff. It's just like, here, let's do this, take this. Hey, I've got more and we'll find more. And then finally, unconditional love. So as I said, your free spirit is really that open-hearted part of you. The part of you that hasn't been jaded by the world, the part of you that is not that is free from all of that cynicism, that is free from all of that fear when it comes to love or relationships, or when it comes to, whether I have enough or don't have enough. Your free spirit is that part that just feels abundance, just pure abundance. Whereas your impresario is pretty much the opposite. And that's where, you know, if you remember from an earlier slide, I had the sovereign at the top, and then I had the impresario and the free spirit underneath. And I don't set it up that way to say, well, your sovereign's the most important. Sometimes the sovereign really can, like its wisdom really can trump whatever's going on with, you know, the free spirit or the impresario. But really when it comes to the impresario and the free spirit, they are pretty much exact opposites. So when we're talking about, you know, if you feel like you've got these two voices in your head, you know, one that says, you know, no, you need to, you know, balance your checkbook, or, you know, whatever. No, you need to look at your bills, you know, and the other side that's kind of like, no, you need to go out and go for a walk, or, you know, why don't you go to the local bakery and get yourself a little sweet, or why don't you, you know, call your friend and go to a movie together. You know, sometimes we can often have these sort of like inner wars, right? Where we're trying to figure out, well, what is it that I really should be doing right now? Or, you know, what is it that I feel most called to do? Or, you know, just feeling kind of an inner conflict. That can often be because you've got the impresario and the free spirit, and they're both fantastic and wonderful, and they both serve you in fantastic and wonderful ways. And they are both here to empower you to live your truth, but they do it in different ways. And often, sometimes they can do it in opposite ways, or they can have sort of different perspectives of the same issue. And so that's where, you know, sometimes the impresario will win out because of stress, because we think we have to focus on what we have to do. But the free spirit is that part that when we honor it, it's like when you just honor the free spirit, whatever it's guiding you to do, and it just says, do this thing. It's amazing how much just like energy can just blossom inside you once you do that thing that feels joyful, that then that energy can then fuel you to do all those other things that it is that you need to do, you know, or have to do, or feel practical to do. And I've experienced this firsthand in my own work. As I mentioned, that oftentimes when we get burned out in our businesses, or in our career, with our careers, or with our roles that we're playing in our lives, or just in life, with life in general, it's, in my experience, it's almost always because we aren't honoring our free spirit enough, or that free spirit has been buried, or it's been so wounded that it's become wounded. So it's all about honoring that free spirit. And that's what can bring that light up inside you again, and that joy inside you. That then opens up all kinds of other energies inside. And before you know it, whereas you were burnt out before, when you actually listen to and honor your free spirit, and actually honor all three. And I have a little technique that I teach in my course about how to do that. Very simple. But when you honor all three, that's when you have this incredible sense of wholeness and balance, and the wisdom that comes through you, different kinds of wisdom. So it's not just impresario wisdom, it's not just sovereign wisdom, it's free spirit wisdom too. I'll give you another example of how I've used my free spirit in my work. And that is when I went through another period of being very, very burned out. And I'd spent the whole year basically working with a business coach, and I'd done everything that I thought I was supposed to do. And then I was completely burned out by the end of that year. But then I felt called to create my first online course. I hadn't created one. This was a number of years ago. And so I was like, okay, so I'm getting this calling. Okay, I need to create this online course. So I sat down to do the course. And I was doing it kind of going, okay, I need to bring in this information, this, you know, in a very serious way, in what I know now is a very impresario way, which is fine. But what ended up happening was I burned out even on doing that course. And I found myself just feeling so uninspired and so uncreative and so like unfulfilled in it. I just felt like I was sort of ticking boxes, but not really like infusing my presence and my joy and my energy into this. So what I did was I sat down with each of my emPowers as I looked, and I looked at the course and I said, okay, so what do you think? What do you think I should add to this course? Or what do you think I should change? Like, what would you do if you were designing this course? So of course, my impresario had pretty much given a lot of her input. So, you know, she gave some more. The sovereign said, here's what I would focus on, and make sure you really keep your learners in the course like focused on certain things. But my free spirit was the one who was like, you need more color. you need more images. Like, this is boring. You need to have some more fun. What if you were to have, and it had, I forgot exactly what she recommended. It was almost like this little sort of Easter egg game throughout the course, hey, pay attention to when this comes along. And so she made it more fun. And what's so awesome is that when I got feedback on that course, people would say, you know what I really liked? I really liked how you did this thing. And I really liked that. And I say, thank you so much. You know what? That was my free spirit. It was her idea. And so it really is, you're drawing this wonderful wisdom from you that you may not have even known was there as a source of wisdom. So that's what this is really about. So as always, I love to share about my work, which is called, well, the technique, one of the techniques I should say that I do, and that's called the drawing out process. And the drawing out process is something I developed years ago when I was in my deep dark night of the soul. And when I first developed it, I developed it for healing emPowers, which I mentioned earlier in this episode, and of course covered in previous episodes. And so the drawing out process is this incredible, ridiculously simple, but incredibly powerful way of accessing your subconscious and bringing it forward. As I often say, your left brain is all about thinking and processing and analyzing, and usually communicates in language, in words, whereas your right brain, which is often where people would say would be the source of your subconscious and your emotions, typically communicates in images. And so that's why this drawing out process is really powerful. And I will also like to bring up the drawing out process. By the way, that image right there was one of my sovereigns. I talked about her in the previous episode about the sovereign, but she really brought forward a heck of a lot of wisdom for me. So I love to present her here. But the point is that the drawing out process is a technique that really does bring forward, whether it's your emPowers for healing or your emPowers for their wisdom, for their clarity, for their guidance. And so that's what it's about. And so it's not as though we just have these emPowers and emPowers and this stuff inside of us. No, I mean, there are ways of accessing it. That's the whole point. So by drawing out your emPowers, you can more easily and joyfully live your truth. So back to the original image, we've got your emPowers, your emPowers, your guiding star, and your truth. So the whole point is we're trying to get your truth, right? We are tapping into your truth. Your truth is always inside of you. It never changes. It never wavers. It never dims. I will talk about it again in a later episode. But your truth is that beautiful, gorgeous, sparkling, shining light that's already within you, but that gets obscured by emPowers, by those blocks, those triggers, those wounds, those parts of you that have been impacted by pain and by fear. So it's about clearing those emPowers, healing those emPowers, drawing them out of your system so that they're no longer tormenting you. And then it's also, though, about bringing forward your emPowers. So in this episode, in the previous two episodes, we talked about your 3 emPower types. So it's about honoring your emPowers, because your emPowers, that's their job. Their job is to empower you to live your truth. And as I always say, it's not as though we sort of have this truth, we're here to live and we're kind of, wander through life. No, we've got all of this amazing wisdom already inside of us. And that's my intention here, is to say, look, you've got this inside of you. I have this inside of me. And then with my course, I teach how to bring that forward so that you can really have, it's like you clear out those emPowers, and actually those emPowers transform back into emPowers, which I will talk about in the next episode, but also that those emPowers, they really are like an inner committee, so that you can call on them if you're having an issue, if you're having a struggle, if you're confused about anything. And they're going to they might give you different perspectives of this, of the same answer, but they will give you the best wisdom. They're not impacted by pain or fear or stress or any of those things that get in the way. They really do know, they know your truth, and they know their job is to empower you to live your truth. So by listening to them and honoring them, you're letting them do their job so that you can do your job. That's their whole purpose. They're here to help you. I have clients who call it their inner committee, their inner power team. I'll be honest with you, actually, I only occasionally, because I'm so integrated with my emPowers now, because I've honored them so much and I've cleared so many xPowers, that it's pretty much just automatic that they give me feedback. But recently I was going through a situation where I was really struggling with a decision that I knew I had to make. And it was really it was causing me a lot of consternation. And so I went for a walk. And while I was on that walk, I asked each of my emPowers individually. I said, okay, so what do you think I should do? Or what's your perspective on this? How do you feel about this? What do you recommend? What would you do if this were you? And all three of them gave me different perspectives of what was ultimately the same answer, which was I needed to let go of something in my life. And so they just gave it to me very lovingly and very wonderfully. So this is how your emPowers can serve you in your efforts to make a difference and in your efforts to live the life that you truly, truly desire. So as always, I love to invite you. Again, I'm sharing the ChangeLight system with you, and I'm sharing, that these elements of it, but I really want you to know that there's a course, there's a community. If you're curious about this, if you want to learn more, we would love to have you in the community, especially if you are really passionate about making a positive difference in the world. Because if you are passionate about that I am passionate about you. You are my reason for being here and for making a difference, and really teaching you how to accelerate your ability to make that difference. That is what my whole purpose is all about. That is my whole truth. So thank you so much. This has been Emily Eldridge, Inner Work for Greater Good. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Before I go, actually, I want to say that the next episode, so we've done the 3 xPower types and we've done the 3 emPower types. The next episode, we're going to talk about how those relate to each other. Really, really interesting stuff. So I hope you will tune in next time. And thank you so much for being here. Bless you and happy 2022. Bye.